The nationwide Legends Luncheon held in Columbus raised 1.3 million dollars for Children's Hospital. Back Nine Report had the opportunity to chat with the host, Jack Nicklaus. When asked about seeking or offering advice to other players back in his day, he answered it just wasn't done. And he's surprised that young players today seek him out for his wisdom. When he was young, his teacher, Jack Grout, introduced him to other great teachers of the day, Byron Nelson, Bob Toski, and Claude Harmon. Plus, he learned the intricacies of the game while playing with Ben Hogan and Sam Snead.
None of the guys in my era sat down and talked about it. I'm happy to. I've had guys that ask me different things, and sure, I've helped them, but not as much as the young guys have come to me and want to know how to play that Augusta. Or Cantley came to me and wanted to know how to play Muirfield. We sat down and
that worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked twice for him.
Yeah.
And but it's pretty flattering that they don't. You're 25 years old. You pay attention to your dad. Let alone your grandfather. And every year I'm their grandfather's age, and they're all asking me questions and listening to me. That's pretty flattering for a 75 or 80-year-old guy to have kids love and listen to him.
Who inspired you when you were 20 years old? Who did you go to learn anything?
Well, Jack Grout was smart enough to.
In terms of tour guys.
No, I know I said.
All right.
But Jack Grout was smart enough to send me around. He sent me to Byron Nelson. He sent me to Bob Toski. He sent me to Claude Harmon to learn how they play golf. And I came back, and Toski would play closer to what I did than any of them. And I said, why'd you send me over there? He says, because I wanted you to know that there are other ways to play golf. And there's more way to skin a cat. And so, he says, you got to learn how to do things and find out what they're doing. And then when I was 14, Nelson gave a clinic at the USGA Juniors. And I just was enamored with his ability to do what he did that day was fantastic. And then Hogan, when I played with Hogan in 60 at Cherry Hills, I copied Hogan for the next few months. Or I played with Boris in '58. I copied Boris. I played with Sam Snead in '56. I copied their swing. Imitation. That's what kids do, is imitate. And I imitated. And I found that what part of it did I utilize and not utilize. I evidently had the ability to be able to take something that I had enough coordination and I could do what I saw.
Yeah.
And then when I went to High Open in '56, I just finished playing with Sam the day before, and then went back and imitated him. Next morning, shot 64, and 64, 72 the next day, won the High Open. But that was like, I just had it in mind what this thing did, and I just copied it. And I did that with everybody.
Thank God Jim Furyk was from a different
era. And then they copied you. Yeah, then they copied you. I guess it's my Daly, Norman. More upright? Did you come up, was the swing upright, flat?
No, not necessarily. Grout got me fairly upright.
Right. And other guys started to...
I don't know. I wouldn't mind being flatter, but I wasn't taught that way. I remember a player asked Hogan, he says, Mr. Hogan, people say that my swing is too flat. He says, Laddie, you can never be too flat if your hands are underneath the club. If you think about that,
yes,
that means your hands are underneath here. And that matters where you are back here. If you're underneath it, you can play. And if your hands are on the side of the club, then you have trouble. But, you take away something from everything.
Scotty Scheffler had just won the Masters, and we asked Jack about the shots needed to win at Augusta.
Augusta, you play a lot of hooks and you play a lot of fades. You play, that's the thing about people don't realize about Augusta. They talk about being a right to left golf course. It's got a lot of right to left shots on it, but it's got a ton of left to right shots on it too. You look at number ones at left to right tee shot, number 3 into the green at 3, into the green at 4, tee shot at 5, 7. They're all left to right shots.
As you were watching the coverage over the weekend, was there one place where you said, okay, Scott's got this now?
Well, I didn't really, say that he's got it at any place, but I felt, he was playing awfully well. And then, of course, Uh, Cam Smith self-destructed at 12, and which a lot of guys do. They self-destruct until they learn that they don't. You don't want to be in that water at Race Creek. It's a big penalty.
We could tell that he was very proud of the fact that over the past 12 years, the Legends Luncheon has generated over $12 million for Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus. Plus, he explained why the Memorial Tournament continues to draw strong fields every year.
Yes, they have. We started out, and 12 years ago, we raised about $250,000. We had a check for $1.3 million today. It's about $12 million we raised over the last 12 years. That's pretty darn good for an idea that came from I think it came from Barb. I did a thing with Jim Nance at MD Anderson, and they raised $1 million for lunch about 15 years ago. And Barbara said, "Why can't we do something like that in Columbus?" And then Dan Sullivan put it together. That's where the Legend Luncheon came from. And so, I mean, we see things that people do. You're talking about copying and imitating again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We copied and imitated what they did at MD Anderson.
For the Memorial, we've seen some of the tournaments struggle a little bit to get a quality field in because of some of these bigger events. Looks like you got another quality field coming. How do you get that? How do you keep that going?
Well, I think, I don't know what our field is. I haven't seen anything, but when you put on a good event, when you take care of the players, you play on a good golf course, the players will come. I mean, it's always been about you can't expect the players to come and go play a dog patch. You can't play the players come and not have a. I mean, they're human beings. They want to have a nice week. They want to have a nice place to eat. They want to have a nice place to rest. They want to have a nice place so they can communicate with each other and talk and we do that. I mean, because obviously I saw that on tour, so I wanted to make sure that we could present that and allow that to be here. And when you do that, the greatest majority of guys are going to come. Is everybody going to come? No, I don't think anybody's ever going to come to everything because it's just sometimes they can't come. But generally speaking, we always have a good field, and I certainly don't anticipate anything different this year.
Finally, Jack was able to give us some insight on Tiger Woods and his performance at this year's Masters tournament.
I sat next to Tiger at the Masters dinner, which I do every year, and we talk, and it's about the only time I really ever sit and talk with Tiger. And I talked to him. I said, "What's your thinking?" He says, "Well," he says, "the doctors." I asked the doctors if I was going to hurt. He said, "Yes, you'll hurt." He says, "Am I going to hurt anything?" He said, "No." He said, "You can't hurt anything. Nothing to hurt." He says, "So," and he says, "And you'll probably hurt next year." He said, "Well, then why would I want to wait another year to get back at something when I'll be a year older?" And so that's why I played. And I thought he played very well. I know he wore out. The last two rounds he wasn't there, and but he stayed with it and finished it out. But he had a noticeable limp, and he's struggling with that, and he's going to always probably struggle with it. Hogan always struggled with it. Hogan figured out a way how to play it and use it and do it. And I think Tiger is such a driven young man, and he's got such a great work ethic, and he's I mean, people ask me, "Will he ever come back?" I said, "Absolutely." I didn't expect him quite back this soon, but he's back. He'll play. He'll play well.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
All right, Tom.